Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me See Me podcast, and today I've got a great guest with me today. Very recently, a couple of weeks ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I was speaking to a friend of mine, a lovely woman, Cheryl Witham, and she said, "You've got to speak to Elvin. You must speak to Elvin." And like straight away, she spoke to Elvin. He contacted me immediately. We had a good old chat. And the thing is, it needs to go out there. We need to do a podcast. And that's today, the reason for today's chat. So today I'm talking to Elvin Box. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, mate. Very good indeed. Thanks. Yeah, very good. Really, really good. No complaints whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't get better than that, can you?
Absolutely not, mate. Absolutely not.
So we get up to the point where I was. I mean, I got diagnosed a couple of weeks ago. I had a feeling it was coming because of sort of the process I'd been through. But then, it was said to me, you've got two options, maybe three. The two options are surgery, radiotherapy, or monitor. And I was quite I got my head around it. And it was really interesting, though, then speaking to you about all the other things. So what's your experience about that?
Well, my experience with diagnosis has improved radically from when I was diagnosed myself in 2016. So I was diagnosed at the end of June 2016. And I knew absolutely nothing about prostate cancer. I mean, like nothing. But since then, my experiential learning has all been down to giving talks, working with Prostate Cancer UK, working with the Movember Foundation, working with Macmillan, and being on hand then to help an array of individuals, doing a lot of work just recently with the focal therapy, which is the earlier diagnosis form of treatment.
Yeah.
And so I've become pretty much very well equipped and understands the diagnosis bit and the treatment bit.
Yeah.
So I've become very passionate about doing everything you can so prostate cancer is diagnosed as early as practically possible. And to the great wide world, that means is that because the prostate is not that big, it's just like golf ball size, it's just a little bit bigger than an orange maybe. It's not big, it's not a major organ,
no.
But it's there to actually produce life. Without a prostate, there can be no production of semen. There can be no ejaculation. There can be no firing of a seed. We wouldn't be anywhere. So it's a very, very important part of the male anatomy, and it's part of the reproductive system. But we don't need it to live.
Right.
Now, the walls of the gland is the term that gets used for making sure that you can do everything you can, that you've identified and diagnosed prostate cancers, that the tumor, before it hits the walls of the gland.
Yeah.
When it hits the walls of the gland, it's almost inevitable that it will actually be an aggressive form of prostate cancer.
Yeah.
It then seek to get advance from the prostate. And what it wants to do is to get to your bones and your vital organs and basically see you off.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what the tumor wants to do. And so I promote as much as possible now is that we get to diagnose as soon as possible to give us the option that the treatment is not as invasive as when it gets to aggressive.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now aggressive, everyone says yes, it is hopefully still at the curative stage. Bearing in mind it's about a 70% success rate, 75% success rate. If you get it, though, before it's got to the walls of the gland, brachytherapy can be used, as can cryotherapy and the high-intensity focused ultrasound.
Right, yeah.
Now, that will get to the tumour If it's successful, it would have had a negligible impact on a man's continence and also his potence, meaning that his ability to get an erection, to get and maintain an erection, is not as harmed as much as it is if you do the radical, which is the next stage. You radically remove all of the prostate.
Yeah.
And also it's little or no damage is done to the bladder, which again happens should you actually do a radical prostatectomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that making sense, do you think, to the average Joe's never spoken about
so
this or heard about this?
Definitely the average Joe. So there's a couple of things that came out immediately to me there. You just touched on there the fact of impotence. Now, why I was pretty certain I had got it wasn't. I'm not a negative person, but when I had the biopsies, I was at biopsy stage. I'm doing this because it's like a little clicking machine. They go up your backside, and then there's this thing, and they take little clicks. And I thought it was going to take 2 or 3. I thought he took 16, and it comes out in my report that he took 21. Now, as you said, it ain't that big anyway. So my prostate's got a bit of a hammering that day, and it came to about a week. I'm really open, and I'm only open as well because I want everyone, anything that we can answer today that anyone's worried about, then hopefully we get it out in the open. Like the first time I went to have sex, like I won't say it wasn't like being impotent, it was like dead. And that feeling, I always thought, now I'm 60 in July, and I was like, when I was 20 or something, I thought 60, I was going to be this old pensioner. Now I am 60, I don't feel like, I'm really not.
No, it's amazing, isn't it?
I'm really not old at all. So this first feeling of like this, like, and as I said, you know, I'm not Premier League standard, but I do like to get off the bench occasionally. So this feeling of like complete, nothing there at all was so frightening. Like it made me feel really, really uncomfortable and panic.
Yeah. Well, the thing to let everybody know is that there is a biopsy called a transperineum, and the transperineum is done under a general anaesthetic. I was extraordinarily fortunate, is that my biopsy was done under exactly the same route as I'm saying now. So I didn't have a local anaesthetic, and basically worked on while I'm awake.
Yeah.
I was totally out, and samples were taken very, very carefully. And it meant that they could take samples from basically, say, both sides of the prostate. It's extraordinarily accurate. And for me, the experience after was not like that. It was a bit odd, and I'll explain that. It had no impact on my ability to attain and maintain an erection. That what my biopsy didn't. What it did do was that the semen had blood in it. So I was told, don't worry about it, but it's pretty difficult not to worry about it because it looks like the contents of an old Ford car radiator. It's a bit odd. It's a bit odd. So I was extraordinarily fortunate. Honest to God.
No, I know.
God almighty. You don't want to look at this here. Frighten the kids. So the route they took you down is painful. That's not, you know, that's one of the things actually that I'm trying to campaign against, is that everybody should now have the same treatment as I did. Everybody should be luckier than I was, because I'd still say I'm the luckiest bloke alive, for one, and secondly, in my recovery and how it was diagnosed and when it was diagnosed. Everybody needs to be no less lucky than me, and probably even luckier than me. And that's the first step to it. Is that it's not a good way in this day and age to be taking a sample from the prostate, because it is not as accurate. I'll argue with any doctor you know, because I said to my consultant, I've got to tell you this to you. I got up to go away when the consultant said to my wife, and I said, "We need to do a biopsy." I said, "You're not doing it." He said, no, honestly, it's not as bad as it was. He had to sit me down. I said, no, please, let me. And he said, I promise you, Elvin, you won't feel a thing. Minimal soreness afterwards. The only thing it was that there will be blood in the semen, and he was 100% correct. So on that part of it, Stuart, yes, I was fearful of the route that they were going to take me was be the same as that you enjoyed, you know. And so that's there's a lot of psychological going on there. Tell everybody how you what actually felt like for you.
Well, I felt panic. I felt I felt awful, because it wasn't like, it just seemed it was dead. It wasn't like not much there. It was dead, and I keep sort of saying dead, but it just like was. And the thing is I kept thinking, oh my God, is this it? Is this going to be it now? Is this, you know? And then, as you said, then you're going to have to bear with me, everyone, on this, but you're going to hear it all today. But a couple of days later, I must have seen something, and it, you know, got me a little bit intrigued about something, and I thought, oh, well, there's a bit of life. There's a bit of life there, so I'm going to have a little go myself, you know, which I did. And then I was so pleased that it was working. But then I did ejaculate, and I imagine, but they did prepare me. I can't say they didn't, but they said there will be a little bit of blood in the semen. Like, I literally got a handful of blood. It was not a little trickle of blood. The first time, a handful of blood, and it's one of the most awful things I've ever seen. It made me feel absolutely physically sick. I felt, thank God my wife didn't see this. You know, like, thank God she didn't have to, you know. And then obviously I've said to her, look, we can't do anything at the moment. That's really horrible, like. And I sort of like, I'm trying to do it myself, you know, because it will clear, you know. And as you said, now it is. I'm at the inside of the full radiator stage, and I'm sure it's now going to. But I think the more that he did, the longer my recovery is, which goes on to the next thing, which is incontinence, you know. And they did say, now my incontinence, which led me to have the test in the first place, was I didn't get a lot. Mine particularly was I didn't get a lot of time. So the minute I needed to go low, I had to go low, you know. But this was really,
yes, a clear sign,
it really exacerbated after the procedure. I keep doing that after the procedure, because it was awful, you know. Like, literally, I didn't even get time to get to the bathroom now afterwards. So I went into Savers to buy some Tenormen, and there was a young woman on the desk on the reception. No, was it the till? The young woman on the till. Now, this is the Frau male ego. I couldn't pick up the Tenormen and take to the young girl at the thing. No. So I picked up Tenor ladies. I ended up, so I thought, she'll think they're for my wife. So I went and bought Tenor ladies, and then consequently afterwards, I'm walking around wearing Tenor ladies. But it's hilarious, because you just think, what on earth goes on in this? I think I'm quite an intelligent, stable person.
It is the major challenge to do with prostate cancer. I suppose I really need to know, Stuart, that at the moment you are living with prostate cancer, and what the diagnosis currently is that it doesn't appear to be hitting the walls of the gland at the moment. So you're on, a lovely phrase is active surveillance, as against watchful waiting occurs when you get a lot older, when you're properly old, wherever that may be. And they're pretty certain you'll die of something else. But at the moment you're young enough to that the tumour will be aggressive enough and may still take off. So as long as people understand is at the moment you're living with prostate cancer. What everybody needs to know is that your reticence to talk to a young lady so she can see what you got in your bag, you know, and it's no different to like when you're 16 and you want to buy Durex in the chemist, and you think, I can't go and talk to her.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll go and buy some sweets instead.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've got bronchitis there. So I've got bronchitis, my dad wants them. That's it.
Yeah.
So everybody needs to know that's a very, very not normal reaction. You know, you've got to be made of stone not to have any other reaction. And the other thing that not enough, you know, if you speak to the people, the lovely people at Tenor, the fact is 1 in 4 men between the age who have hit 40, so men in their 40s, 1 in 4 of them will have some form of incontinence.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, some's going to be because of prostate cancer, but there's other bladder problems as well.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing we need to draw to everyone's attention, Stuart, is that there's a lot of commonalities with a bladder problem and prostate cancer. You know, because when I do the talks, I explain to people. I suppose at this time we should actually say there are transsexuals. One of the challenges of being a transsexual is that you've still got your prostate.
Right.
It's not part of the transition.
Right.
Not part of the transition. And so people with a prostate, the challenge you have is that the first thing is that you're going to need to go to the toilet more often.
Yeah.
And where you got this to, it's exactly what I say to people. If you think, Christ, I've got to go too late.
Yeah.
You know, you must get off to a GP, because it's either the prostate has a tumor in it, or the arena, the urology arena, there's a challenge. It must be sorted out, because that's completely wrong. The horrible thing, every GP says, oh, do you get up in the night?
Yeah.
What they should know, just go a bit further than that, is that if you get up once a night and you're over 40, don't worry.
Yeah.
Because that's quite normal. But if you're getting up twice a night, do keep keep a check on it, monitor this, because if that's happening more than 3 or 4 times a week, then that's too much.
Yeah.
And I say to people, if you've gone to the loo 3 times in one night, you see your GP the next morning, who'll make a phone call these days the next morning, that's way too much. Yeah. And during the day, I say to people, if you haven't got a 20-minute radar to get to the loo, you're in trouble. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And if you're finding you're going back to the loo within the hour, that is a problem.
Right. Yeah.
That's a problem. And then I say to them, look, if you get to the loo and you're there and you are straining and it's taken a long, and when you do eventually go, it is a very weak flow. It's intermittent.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That is a problem. That there's something wrong. It should be like that. And I found out when I took my prostate out. I couldn't believe how it returned.
Yeah.
I actually shouted to my wife, I said, "You've got to come and see this. This is like a fire hose. This is incredible." You know, it is fully functioning. Because I say to people, what should happen? It should like, amaze you with its power, and when it stops, it stops. There should be no shaking of it. That's just you having fun. You don't need to. But this is all the things we forget as we get older. You know,
I should not be enjoying this as much as I am today.
No, but it's true, because it's almost vaudeville. It's almost vaudeville.
Yeah,
because it's the part of the anatomy that you joke about more than you are serious about. Yeah, and if that would help me enormously, because I keep on and on since I've been through my experiences, that we need to talk about our sexual health like we do our dental health.
Yeah,
and because these are the challenges that you've found. Yeah, and I bet you were not aware of what I just went through very, very quickly of clear signs there's something wrong. Obviously, the bit to add to that is it's only 2 things that come out of a penis when it's got a prostate in it. One's semen, the other one's wee. Anything else, worry. Yeah. Worry, because obviously in the situation we were in, we knew there would be a period of time when we had blood coming out of it.
Yeah.
But you know, I knew a guy actually when I was doing a talk. He said I was really, really lucky. He said I got up one morning. He said everything bar wee came out. He said I went for a wee and everything, but he said there was mucus, there was blood.
Yeah.
And sensibly went to see the GP, and very, very fortunately, they diagnosed it so he could have fairly non-invasive. I think he took up brachytherapy, took the seeds, the permanent seeds.
Right.
But it was only because he wasn't, you know, like most blokes say, oh, hang on, that doesn't look right, does it? No, it doesn't. You know, please be aware if you've got a prostate and you have that type of wee, something's way wrong.
Yeah.
And of course, we the other challenge is if there's any aching of bones around the sternum, basically,
right.
bits of your body. I tell you, one area is the groin.
Yeah.
If you get an ache in your groin and you think that's a bit strange, do wander off, because it may be a tumour in the prostate, or it could well be something's wrong with the urinary system in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I had a lot of pain in my lower back. I don't know if that was related to it, but I had a lot of pain in my lower back in the kidney area, you know. And
that's all to do with the good area of the kidneys. And so those are the things that we're talking about. Yes, they should be taught. All those born with a prostate, and generally at school age, they still be classified as male. That's what they should be learning.
Yeah.
As a matter of course, you know, I wouldn't even say, it needs to be in sex education. That needs to be part of biology for those who are assigned as male. You must understand that there's a chance that you will get a tumour in your prostate, because 1 in 8 of the white community will get it during their lifetime. And if you're part of the black community, 1 in 4 of you will get a tumour in your prostate during your lifetime. 1 in 4.
Do they know why? Do they know why there's that difference? It's just how that is.
At the moment, there's lots of ifs, whats, and maybes, and people doing some research on it. But
but it is what it is.
Unknown. It is what it is. Yeah, and that's a lot. 1 in 4.
1 in 4. Yeah.
Christ Almighty. You know. So, and I've heard some research saying they believe it will go down to a 1 in 12 if you are of a Far Eastern ethnic typology, but the majority is 1 in 8, and sadly 1 in 4 of the black community. They should be teaching that at school as a matter of course, as part of biology.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree.
Yeah, you know, just like you understand your alphabet, you should understand your prostate. Because it's magnificent what it does, and how it works, and how all of the male reproductive system works. So, it's been made, we can make jokes of it to kingdom come, but it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And when it starts to malfunction, it not only causes distress physically, but mentally.
Yeah, it does. I underestimated that. I really underestimated that side. I think it's an interesting point as well. You just said about you know, you go straight to the doctor. That's another thing that I want to explain about my experience of it. I first had I'm sure it was a year ago, and this is not anyone's fault. This was actually, unfortunately, the state of the world at the time. But I had a feeling something weren't right as well. So I phoned up, couldn't get through to the doctor. I ended up doing a 111, and the guy on the phone started I had to explain on the phone about my back passage and whether it was piles or prostate, and I have this long conversation, descriptive conversation. I thought he's going to ask me to video it in a minute, and I thought I was going to draw the line there. And I thought, you know, it's a weird thing. And his opinion at the time was, from my explanation, he said, no, that's probably piles because it sounds further to the surface than what you're saying and that. So anyway, I took that as then some months later, it was getting worse and worse and worse, the peeing and that. So then I had a real struggle to get a test. And this is what my point. I had a real I seemed to almost like demand a PSA test.
Yeah.
Before we got into that, but I then got the PSA test, and they then said, yeah, it's elevated. You need an MRI. So I went for the MRI in November. It took 6 weeks for the MRI to come back. Now, in that time, I was phoning and I saying, look, after a couple of weeks, I wanted to know. So I'm phoning my GP. She's saying, we've not heard nothing, but it's slow at the moment. I got to about a month, and I said, well, at least it means there's nothing wrong, because normally it means no news is good news. She said, unfortunately, it probably means no one's even looked at it yet, because they just haven't got the radiographers. And so it went on for 6 weeks. When it did come back, they said they could see something was there. I need biopsies, which I then did. And at that point, he then said to me, probably about 4 weeks' time, you'll get your results. So the whole process is around about 3 months. Now, on the telly, they keep telling you, keep an eye open, because we need to do things, get things early. And you think, well, this is, I'm not blaming anyone in particular. I love the NHS, but this ain't working.
No, you see, the reason it's not working is because there isn't a screening for prostate cancer. We've mentioned there, Stuart, some of the symptoms, the key symptoms. Generally, such symptoms wouldn't be noticeable until it was at least at the advanced stage.
Right.
It becomes all too obvious once it's advanced and it is not at curative stage any longer.
Right.
Now, what should happen, it doesn't happen at the moment. What should happen at the moment is that they should say, if you are 40 years of age, all you should be able to do is just say that you're my GP, you know that I'm at 40 years of age, and I need to get a baseline in with a PSA to see what it is reading, so we can actually start to make an assessment. At the moment, even if it's quite patently obvious that you are the Black community, you should, as part of the Black community, be given a PSA at 45 years of age. They're still going to argue the toss about that. And you should have a PSA at 45 if your father has had prostate cancer. There's lots of debate about your mum or your sister having breast cancer, but they're very, very clear that on the father's side, it's far too strong a risk, or heavier a risk, not to do anything. And I'll give you the best. It's a lovely, lovely fella, Chrissy Pember, I know. He was extraordinarily fortunate. His father was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And so his GP said, this is a letter you must give to Chris, to give to Chris's GP. Chris is not yet 50. I don't want him arguing with a GP. It just says, for me, a GP, I've diagnosed you with prostate cancer. We both know that your father had prostate cancer. That's a letter to Chris's GP to say, my father and my grandfather on my father's side have been diagnosed with prostate cancer. I'm to come to you to have my first PSA. Just as well, because he was diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer at 48. If you'd been waiting another 2 years, it'd been way, way too late. Yeah. It would have been, it'd have been probably dead by the time he was 52.
Right.
So that's why there should be no argument at 45, but there is. And there should be no argument at 50, but there is. And so myself and the likes of Errol McKellar, because I do a lot of work with the Errol McKellar Foundation, which is about putting in place basically a hospital on wheels. So a PSA, it's set up to PSA blood test, as is a hospital department that will take your PSA. This is the mobile one.
Yeah.
And this is all, and it will be the first one in the UK where you can walk in, NHS staff, and they won't be asking whether, you know, are you 50, are you 45, as your dad had. They don't want to know. That it's obvious that you know, as long as you've got a prostate, come on, sit down. We'd do a just do some, get you signed in, get some facts and figures, and then we give you your first PSA. Away we go. Because if you start to look from the age of 40, there's a far, far greater chance that if it's regularly done, some people say that a PSA may not need to be done again for another 2 years. Others say, no, we should be doing it every year. You know, you should, but the very, very least, start the ball rolling at 40 years of age. Is the PSA showing any signs of elevation for that person, that age? You know, what was the risk in the first place? How much should we be actually screening, for want of a better term, this person's prostate? Yeah. Because if we can get it, because it's pretty clear, we've not found a way of preventing a person with a prostate getting a tumour. We don't know how to prevent that. No. But there are ways and means of making sure, if you take me, for instance, or actually you're even a far better case here, Stuart, is that you've gone and they've found that there is a tumour within the prostate. Yeah. I would now advocate is that you can do nothing. However, by doing nothing, you know, you must have the risk explained to you. Yeah. You know, this has got to be, you know, in my opinion, I would want it screened every 12 weeks. Yeah. This is because a good mate of mine, Lucky Lukey, he was lucky, diagnosed at 50 in your situation. Yeah. 2 years later, it rocketed and up to a Gleason score of 9, and that to run around. There was no more waiting. Yeah. And Focal Therapy did a tweet this week where a guy actually said it advanced. Yeah. So I'm very, very cagey now, and I believe, like a lot of people believe, is that they still say would do the active surveillance. Yeah. Because of the fact, one, there wasn't any non-intrusive treatment. Yeah. You know, HIFU, which Focal Therapy do, cryotherapy, and the C's, the brachytherapy, 20, 25 years ago weren't around. No. And nobody wanted to go near a prostate for obvious reasons. We found out just by doing a biopsy, it does create havoc. Yeah, yeah. It does create havoc. So I think it's from their days. Yeah. Cryotherapy, what gets called HIFU, and brachytherapy are relatively new. Right. And what happens with prostate cancer, everyone's got a different view of what's good treatment. Yeah. Lots of people say, oh, no, you don't want to do the HIFU treatment because it doesn't always work. Well, no, my operation doesn't always work. No. But nobody stopped me having the operation. Radiotherapy doesn't always work, but nobody stopped it being done. No. The most important thing about the high intensity focused ultrasound is that they can have a second attempt, and also it won't destroy the prostate beyond having it radically removed should it need to be, because they weren't able to counter the tumour under that non-invasive treatment. And so that's my clarion call, and that's the debate I want opened up. Yeah, is that for the likes of yourself, Stuart, where they say, there's a couple of other guys I know, who are on active surveillance. Yeah. And I think they should be very clearly understood, and it shouldn't be clouded to say, like, for instance, well, there is HIFU, but I wouldn't go there if I were you. You know, it should be explained what the risks are, and also not only the risk, but what are the potential golden opportunities you're opening up?
Yeah.
Because if someone has said to me, you may still have to have the operation because we give you either brachytherapy or we give you the cryotherapy or HIFU. But it would mean if it's successful that there'd be little or no worries with your continence, and basically, let's put it, you should still to be able to enjoy the same erections that you do currently.
Right.
Because it's a far different story when they do say, right, the treatment we're offering you is either a radiotherapy and we'll also give you hormone treatment. Everybody should know that is that I was offered a 3-year program, 3-year program, 7.5 weeks solid, 5 days a week, get the weekends off, of radiotherapy. So that's external beam. We're going to hit you there, and obviously have to put up with feeling a bit groggy, and the lowering the hormones means that your sex drive will evaporate, basically, because we're going to remove your testosterone. So for your that's the other part that everybody, I always forget to mention, in the reproductive system. It's one of the most important parts. It gives you the desire, the wish, the want, the desire to actually ejaculate.
Right. Yeah.
Get an erection, ejaculate.
Yeah.
And without that, and it does have the physical aspects of that is that you get man boobs and you go into basically a male menopause.
Right.
So you become, quite disorientated some days and quite forgetful.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, for some reason, you'll start to cry because you become very emotional.
Yeah.
And it's not very pleasant. That's a 3-year experience.
Yeah.
Or the radical operation. If anyone is offered the operation of open surgery, I say that in this day and age, that is not an option.
No.
Unless they can do robotic surgery. So I'm going to go somewhere where they can do it.
Yeah.
Because
I was offered robotic surgery. So I'm lucky I'm somewhere where I'm under somewhere that does robotic surgery. Yeah.
Declan Carhill did mine. He was an absolute genius. He's a genius, but not everybody is with it. It's like all surgery. It's down to how good the surgeon is, generally.
Yeah.
And that day.
On the day, yeah.
On that day, Harry Kane has a bad day, and other days he's brilliant. Surgeons are no different.
Yeah.
They haven't got to get the same service in, I suppose, like Sterling, but you've got to have a surgeon who is excellent at that operation, undertaking that operation, and hope that they can still clear the tumour, which you will find out initially after 8 weeks. Right. Have a PSA, and they should be able to tell from that whether or not it's clear enough for you to now go on to the regular 3-monthly for your first year, every 3 months. Let's have a look, see if the PSA is telling us it's undetectable.
Yeah.
Or so low a detection, we needn't worry about it. And then obviously for the next year, the second year, every 6 months, and forevermore after that, you need at least every 12 months to go back and check that it never came back. However, the fact of the matter is this: an operation or radiotherapy is still only 70-75%. Doesn't always work. And the real challenge for your quality of life is that there's lots of guys who go through the operation and they never really get back their continence.
Right. Yeah.
And so, they're on, at best, they'll be on the thinnest tenor pad, which is lovely. The lovely term for drips and drizzles forevermore. Or you may need to go on to a slightly bigger one because you're really having struggled to actually control your continence.
Yeah.
There are guys who they have a lot of problems with their continence, and they have to do other operations to try and get them back to a level of continence that they can live with.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant. The famous challenge with the erections, the getting and maintaining of the erections, is very much to how good your erections were before you had an operation.
Yeah.
And then how well, or if they could do nerve sparing.
Yeah.
The challenge for post a prostatectomy is, were they able to spare nerves while still actually eradicating the tumor?
Yeah.
Those nerves are the nerves that give you and help you maintain an erection.
Yeah.
Now, fair play to Declan, he did say to me, he said, after 2 years and some Viagra, by the way, Viagra doesn't take the place of nerves, it just helps and provides a better blood supply
Right.
to the vital area. And with exercises, should get back to about 60%.
Right.
And then you look around your wife and say, 60%? I don't know. And you've got to be lucky to do pelvic floor exercises, be able to keep doing those, do cardiovascular, do core muscles, and that's, and be as fit as you possibly can to give you a fighting chance of being able to, as you say, come off the bench and have a game in
first
that
half
particular arena.
I don't mind just coming out in the first half.
That's right. So, all joking aside, it did send me 3 parts nuts, the fight to get my continence, and really was a fight, was to get my erections back.
Yeah.
And so it took 4 years for them to come back to any sort of strength.
4 years.
And now it's about, they're in about 80-85% ish. And the other wonderful thing nobody likes to talk about is the shortening, because the operation does have an impact on the length.
Oh, leave off. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, leave off. God, that'd be me done. That's life ain't fair sometimes. Oh, I've been given the tiniest penis in the world. They want to make it shorter. I thought he was going to cheer up, Elvin.
Yeah, well, this is I want, I make sure that when I do the talks, I am as truthful as possible with these are the facts as we now know them.
Yeah. You know what though? The worst thing I had going through it was not being able to talk to a doctor. I come home from the biopsies. I had another thing going on with my mum at the same time, which was awful. And then I didn't have time to really get. And then I had these really bad side after effects of the biopsies. I was very unwell for about a week. Phoned the doctor. She said, "Well, it's early. It's only a week. Phone me next Friday." The following Friday, I phoned. I was in chronic pain in my back as well. And I got through to the secretary, who then I had to explain everything. And I thought, well, you're asked in love, you're going to get it all, So I had to tell her everything. She then said, "Oh, I better let the doctor know." So the phone went again a couple of hours later, thinking it would be the doctor, and it was the secretary again saying, "I've spoken to the doctor, and she is a view that you probably have got an infection, so she's submitting you out a prescription for antibiotics." Still didn't actually speak. So I thought, we've really come some way now that we're not even used to have to fight for antibiotics. Now, not only not seeing them, not even talking to them when you're getting some antibiotics. And it took to the Sunday when I got so down about it, fretting about it, I phoned 111. Great guy come on, said, "Look, I'll get a doctor to speak to you later this afternoon." A lady doctor phoned me up that evening. She was so kind, told me everything. She said they was quite extreme after effects, but they are still normal. For someone just to say to me they're normal, and this is the thing, that's what's crucial what you're doing, Elvin, letting people know, that this is how it is. I want to know how it is. I want to know it's normal, and I want to know my options. and I know what those options entail. You know,
Yeah.
you need someone just armed with the facts to tell you.
Stuart, it's completely wrong that there is not available on the NHS. It should be an NHS YouTube. Right, Stuart, you're going to have this particular form of biopsy. And just because it's all very well being told it, but when I don't know if, well, I think everyone has this challenge that when they're telling you something highly sensitive, also life-threatening, you don't listen as much or hear as much and retain as much as you would do if it was somebody else being told it. I'm annoyed about it, really, is that they've not come up yet with something that's simple.
Yeah.
So look, okay, like this is prostate cancer. It's a 20-minute video. We got someone, John Cleese in the day would have done it. I don't want a doctor telling me. I love doctors, but I need someone like a Cleese who can interpret what they've said medically, so the everyday average Joe understands what is possibly going to happen.
Yeah.
That's all it would need. It's annoying. Someone like Ray Winston did a brilliant job.
Yeah.
And as I said before, why they still do an open type of biopsy, and they do an open. So people must understand that under the open surgery, you are given a general anaesthetic.
Yeah.
Thank God. But in both instances, it's way too open to sepsis in this day and age, and recovery takes longer. And it's not necessary, there are other ways and means to do it. It's just getting the facilities. Getting the facilities. And I think now GPs have got to, you're not going to not have a lockdown again. You come up with a way of making sure you can see people, because it is awful. Now, I had a really, it wasn't a net bite, it was a mosquito bite. It looked like someone had taken a mallet to my hand back in the summer of 2020, 2021, I think it was. And I couldn't get it to see him. I said, just let me come and you can have a look at it. But no, I had to do photographs of it, for Christ's sake.
I'll hold it up at the window. I'll come out.
So, any form of cancer, specific, and I would say this one, specifically prostate cancer, that is highly complex to diagnose. And then everything about it is complex. There's lots of ifs, whats, and maybes. There you are, Stuart, at the moment that they know it's there, but they're not stalling for time. They're trying to do the best for you. But they're trying to do the best for you while you're not even getting an opportunity to sit down and have a chat and go in there with your wife and actually explain, get it explained to you.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, we got COVID, the pair of us, so we were allowed to go. And then, so that had to become a phone call. But I'll give them their due, credit where it is due. They spent a lot of time. They explained everything. I said to the doctor, he said to me, he did only offer me those two things, radiotherapy or surgery. And I said to him, look, I know it's not fair, but what would you do? And he said, monitor it. So I thought, well, at least you've told me what you would do. So it's active monitoring. And they've already booked me my 3-month appointment for so it's not going to be having to be chased. But it gives me the first, in my mind, I think, right, I've got the 3 months to then look at all the things you've suggested as well. But like with the focal therapy, like that one in particular, is it something that the NHS can do, or is it something that I'm going to have to try and source privately?
I think that's something you can only source privately at the moment. I stand to be corrected on that. But the only ones I've known have gone private. But I would stand to be corrected on that. And that particular treatment isn't not readily available everywhere.
No.
But I would say to anyone, if they deem that there is a possibility, and that they would let you know, because a particular guy, I won't say his name, very, very unfortunate. He was diagnosed, and they said, we believe we got it early enough for you to have an option of focal therapy. No, we weren't, but we were okay. We'll undertake a robotic surgery, nerve sparing. The fella comes round, and sorry to say, we couldn't do any nerve sparing. So I would definitely look into it, because it is nowhere near as invasive as having a prostatectomy. And yes, prostatectomies, when they work well, are very, very good, because before anyone jumps at me, yes, it's prevented the tumour from advancing and killing me. Absolutely right. Now, I have friends who've had the operation and have still died of prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So I recognise the fact that I'm in a tremendous position, because I'm extraordinarily healthy, fit, and strong, and I've come through prostate cancer. However, in this day and age, we've got to get to a situation where we have to make it readily available, that there is a strong option on the NHS. And the reason I say this, Stuart, is this: if it advances and basically on life-saving drug treatment, there's a guy called Kevin Webber. He's a great bloke, Kevin. He was diagnosed in his 40s. I think he was given about maybe 2-3 years to live when he was diagnosed. He's outstripped a lot. He's defying science. Brilliant book, Dead Man Running.
Brilliant.
He's really brilliant. Still there, he's still there. But the money the NHS pay, quite rightly to keep Kevin alive through the drug treatment, will far outweigh the money if we get treated right up front.
Yeah.
So there was no need. He didn't have to have the option of taking having a radical prostatectomy or the radiotherapy. And I will not die. I am not allowed to die until this damn thing stops killing.
Yeah.
I want my grandsons to be in a bar one night, and they hear a conversation about prostate cancer, and they go and say, "No, I've got to tell you, my granddad and his mates ensured not one man ever died in the United Kingdom of prostate cancer." He said that would be his legacy, and it is his legacy.
Fantastic.
And he said he ain't, because he says it on his gravestone, "I didn't go until we did it."
Yeah.
You're not allowed to die of something that's it should now. God Almighty, we've got to make sure at the very, very worst, you're struggling with erections. That's at the worst. And what I want to try and get it is that, before I go off this mortal call, is that no, we treat it early now.
Yeah.
It really isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But to do that, we've really got to say, look, we spend an inordinate amount of money keeping the likes of Kevin alive. Ray Clements, everybody. Clements, Tottenham, and Liverpool and England. 15 years Ray Clements survived. 15 years, God bless him.
Yeah.
He went downhill very quickly in his last year, but that's one of the longest I've ever heard. The greatest majority have gone in 5.
Yeah.
Only about 30% live beyond 5 years.
Yeah.
And even for those 5 years, it's cost a lot of money. There was a lovely fella, Lloyd Pinder. I think I might have mentioned already. He died before he was 50.
Yeah.
An agonising death. And a lot of money is spent trying desperately to keep somebody alive, and they'll tell you every 3 months they have to go for their tests. And every 3 months they worry like buggery that has come back.
Yeah.
Because they know when you're stage 4, and if it comes back flushed, you've got a fight in your hands.
Yeah.
And the drugs aren't nutrients.
No.
If we spend the money up front, start taking the focus off that game over there, bring it over here.
Yeah. Prevention rather than cure.
Absolutely.
It's got to be that.
If we could be in a situation where, let's say, 90% of those with prostate cancer are treated with non-invasive treatment, just not, a 10%. Sadly, if we didn't quite get it, they either have radiotherapy or they have the prostatectomy. But we're down to 1% who die. 1%. Then we're winning. Then we're winning.
Because the thing, one of the other things as well recently, the few people I've told about it, you do get this thing where everyone sort of writes it off as nothing. It might just be me, but like everyone I've said, because I've said I was having tests now. I said, I've got prostate cancer now. Oh, well, if you're going to have one, that's the one to have.
Oh,
and I know, right? If I've heard that once, and sorry for anyone who has said that to me, I don't mean it horrible, but like, I still fucking got it. Excuse my French, but
there's three myths, Stuart. There's three awful myths. The first myth is that you only get it if you're old. Well, I don't call people in their 40s old, and guys die this in their 30s. Yeah. An American guy dies at 36 for crying out loud. So it's not just an old man's disease. You get that out of your brains. The second one is that, look, if you get it, you'll probably die with it as against of it. That's rubbish. If you've got this and been diagnosed with it under the age of 75, you've got a fight on your hands.
Right.
Okay, over 75, you may be fortunate enough to say it's now down to watchful waiting. It's there, but its level of aggression isn't anything for us to worry about. We keep under watchful waiting. Quite honestly, something else or Father Time will take you before the prostate cancer. And the other one, anyone, it's shameful to say it's not. How can you say a cancer that will kill you is nothing to worry about? There's a lot of people in this room. It's one particular day when I was watching with them. It was for Movember, doing a training session with the Movember Foundation, and it was film, YouTube of a guy who passed at 66 of prostate cancer. And it's only just a short glimpse of a few months before he died. I tell you now, anyone in that room will tell you, I could not stop crying. I was shaking. And obviously I brought the company and said, you do not understand. It's the first time I've seen what could have happened to me. That's the first time I've known how serious this is. And since then, a couple of other quite famous cases have come up, and there's been footage of them their last days. And a really good mate of mine passed at 56. And I've been told is that it was Witham. He couldn't get up. He was bedbound. He couldn't get up. Because whereas you get crushed on the outside, now this crushes you from the inside, because your bones are being destroyed, and then it will get a few major organs, and it's not a passing that can be said in any way, shape or form, anything like peaceful. It's very, very painful. And so all of those people who have been misguided, I want them to now start saying, no, I've heard Stuart and Elvin talk, and I've changed my ways now. I understand now. I've actually gone online and had a look. And they're right. There's three myths, and that's if anything comes out of this podcast, is that somebody makes it go viral and say, please would you stop with the myths of prostate cancer? Please you start getting real about prostate cancer. Because
let's make it. Let's get this screening started, because I've got friends. A lot of my friends were all 60-ish, and they're like, they have to argue with their doctor. They're going in at not 40. They're going at 60, saying, "Can I have a PSA test? What? You got any symptoms? Well, no, I just thought I should have one. What do you want that for? I've actually, that's not making that up. That's
I know.
2 or 3 of my mates have had the same situation. Like, women have the sort of cervical cancer screening, the smear testing, and the mammograms. This is equally as important to have done. It's got to become a matter of natural course, I think.
Absolutely. That's why I'm working with Errol. Errol obviously had prostate cancer himself.
Yeah.
He went through the operation, and like lots of guys, the operation wasn't 100% successful, so he had to have some radiotherapy as well.
Yeah.
But he, like me, believes that we have survived, and it is absolutely incumbent upon us to do everything we can to make sure that everybody who comes after us is luckier than us.
Yeah.
Hence, you do not die of this. And secondly, we made sure that your treatment came as early as possible, and we made sure that there was stop the faff, stop arguing about giving men a PSA, stop arguing about that it's unreliable. Just get on with it. Just get on with it. There's enough now, because if you say, right, we give you a PSA, and you're quite right, yeah, we give you a second PSA if it's elevated. We give you a second one.
Yeah.
Okay, twice it's come back elevated. Twice you took the procedures. That's okay. Right. Now, it does warrant having an MRI scan, because it's always discussion about the PSA.
Yeah.
We can sort that one out. We're crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's not beyond the wit of man. There shouldn't any be discussions. It's clear when you say, right, now there's an MRI scan, and there's no more lottery funding nuts about the fact, this NHS area doesn't do MRI scans. It damn well does.
Yeah.
Right across the country. And if you've got a problem getting radiologists, you get some more. If you've got a problem getting the machines, you get more.
Yeah.
Get that in place.
Precisely.
And then it's come back, the MRI is that, yes, we do need a biopsy. Right. The biopsy is a transperineal. So nobody goes through what you went through. They go what Elvin went through. Okay, but at the moment we can't do much about it. You're going to have semen. It's like the contents of an old full radiator. We've put up with that.
Yeah.
Because it was accurate enough then to pass on and say, we know where the tumour is. That's a tumour. That's it. Oh, by the way, you want to be as lucky as Elvin. Do what his urologist said. We'll give you a PET scan to make sure it hasn't got near the bones. And then when we're telling you your option treatments, we know as precisely as possible that's the right course of treatment for you, Elvin. And then away we go. And that's why Errol is determined, I'm determined with him, that we put in place a mobile PSA blood testing unit. We know we want it. At the moment, we want it, talking to people, we want it put at Euston Station whilst they're building High Speed 2. The new High Speed 2. It's a huge redevelopment, Euston Station. Huge. The amount of men, if we would just said the amount of men currently working at Euston Station, that's on the overground, on the underground, and in the vicinity around it, within 5 miles on it.
Yeah.
And then you add on all of the construction workers who are going to be there. And then you add in all of the people who come from the north, right up the northwest, down into London on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That will be a magnificent place to start putting through men who've never had a PSA test. The research to University College London, they're only up the road, it's brilliant. University Hospital, superb, some of the best brains in prostate cancer or urology are there.
Yeah.
Mark Emberton and Caroline Moore, God bless them.
Yeah.
The amount of research they could do from that is phenomenal. That would just be one solitary, put it there and put it around wherever you like.
Yeah.
It would do so much. The benefit is almost incalculable.
Yeah, yeah,
But it means someone saying, yeah, okay, we'll fund that. Yeah, because that will save, I mean, the NHS time, money, and effort. And people won't be quite so upset about high speed 2 anymore either, because of high speed 2.
yeah,
Okay, we bequeathed you a mobile
yeah,
PSA unit, and because of that, others did it up and down the country as well.
yeah, yeah.
Now, it's a mad thought, but we're going to get there with it.
No, it's not a mad thought. So I think it's very, and it's a great place to start off from, isn't it? You know, that's the first of many. You know,
Yes,
it's got to be the first of many. But I think,
absolutely.
yeah, I think I've loved it. I've loved today. In fact, I said to you, and I don't mind saying to people, like, I've just come from my mum's. It's just, you know, and what you said as well is very poignant. You know, I've just seen my mum come out from a week going in hospital to coming out, and now she's like, she can't move. You know, she's such pain. And I've come away and come out, and it's like, you know, it's made me feel so lucky as well. You know, like I've still got options. My poor mum, bless her, hasn't got any options. And this has been, it's been so informative. It's you know, I'm going to look into all the other therapies as well. But I really wanted to do that. I wanted us to get talking. As me and you have had a great conversation, start talking to your mates about it. You know, if you've got things that you're not, say to your mate, you know, do you get this? Is all right? Does it, you know, find out. And also at the same time, put pressure on GPs to start being more okay about giving out these PSA tests. You know, like you shouldn't have to fight for one at all. But what I'll do as well, all of those links you've said, you know, like we'll sort this out when this goes out. All the links will be on there to everything you've said, and we won't leave it there. We'll keep pushing, and we'll keep pushing it out. I'm available to anyone who wants to talk to me about my experience, as I know you are as well.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
If we can just get it out there, and I love the thing of the other thing with the buses. I really want to get involved in pushing that out as well at the same time. But Elvin, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you so much. Really, really grateful, Stuart, for you to come in and come into my world and ask me to come into your world and to everybody else's and discuss something that we both know is very, very important. We've got to start to get the conversations going and right the wrongs that currently exist.
Yeah, definitely. 100%, my son. Well, thank you very much, sir. I'll wish you adieu and I'll end the recording, but you know, you have a great day.
And you, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank